And you can also tweet at smooth981 as well. And you can also post a comment on that live stream up on our YouTube channel. It's Smooth981. The analysts are in this morning. It's Mr. C and AB Bozimo. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. C. Good morning, President Zibby. Good morning to all of the wonderful listeners out there. Have a great and productive week ahead.
Good morning, Zibby. Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Lagos. And to the rest of our virtual listeners, let's have a good, productive, and rewarding week ahead.
All right, let's start off with the first headline. This one is coming from Vanguard, and I'm going to pull up this. Okay, so right, I have the headline we're starting off with now. It comes from Punch, I beg your pardon. Hardship protests, US, UK, Canada issue security alert, traders fear looting.
Okay, thank you, Zibby. So the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada have issued travel alerts to the citizens in country in Nigeria, warning them of the possibility of violence breaking out during the planned protests scheduled to start on Thursday, August the 1st, 2024. Now, these travel alerts are not new, and they're not isolated or limited or peculiar to Nigeria. They issue it anytime there's any sense or suspicion of trouble brewing or war or conflict breaking out in any country where their citizens are in sufficient numbers. Now, I'm going to address this story from 2 points. It's the fact that foreigners believe that we're unable to hold peaceful protests in this country. Now, this is a really big shame because previous protests have been held. We have noticed that certain unidentified individuals, or sometimes even when they're known, perpetrate mayhem, cause violence, and there's little or no inclination or desire on the part of the respective governments, and this is from independence to date, to really go after these perpetrators of violence and mayhem. So they are continually encouraged to continue. Now, in 2012, we had Occupy Nigeria protests. There was some violence. I'm not aware anyone was officially apprehended, let alone prosecuted in court for perpetrating violence and mayhem. We all remember the NSAS protests and the sad day of October 20th, 2020, where innocent Nigerians were killed, yet the government still maintains nobody officially died. Now, even in the run-up to last year's elections, we had certain individuals coming out on social media literally threatening violence. And then we had public officials whose jobs are provided for by the taxes paid by Nigerians, saying that these people were joking. Now, this is where we're at. The government's position has been clear. We need more time to deal with the issues Nigeria is facing. Furthermore, we're uncomfortable with the fact that we cannot identify the sponsors of the protests. Now, on social media, it's been jokingly put out that the sponsors of the protests are hopelessness, hunger, frustration, depression, not being able to see the end of the tunnel and the light at the end of the tunnel. But speaking seriously, right? It is a real mystery that we've seen a flurry of meetings proceeding at lightning speed within Nigeria. Within the past 72 hours, the president has met with prominent traditional rulers, he's met with the governors, he's met with literally everyone. But the key thing that needs to be done has not been done. What is that? Why has he not addressed the nation? At least speak to the nation and say, we keep hearing from his appointees, oh, he's fully aware of the issues, he requires more time, that we need to be patient, that he met a bad situation. But my response to that is simple. When you came out tossing your hat into the ring, saying you wanted to run for office, you didn't ask for time. You said you were fully prepared for it, and you've maintained long after you assumed office that no one should pity you, that you knew what you were signing up for. Now, the truth of the matter is this. Nobody is happy with the state of the nation today, including political office holders. They may pretend in They may pretend in the public space, but privately, they're not happy. Now, I guess there are real concerns that unidentified individuals, again, will hijack this protest and cause it to be bloody. And it is out of the abundance of caution that the foreign countries have done this. Now, let's remember this. These are the same foreign countries we're looking towards to give us foreign investment to drive our infrastructural development. Nobody's a fool, right? If we cannot put our house in order, if we cannot ensure that we do things by the book every single time, we're not going to get anywhere. Nobody wants to throw his money into a country where he's not certain of the future. He's not certain that the government he's dealing with has a full backing and understanding and support of the people. And this is my current call to the government in power. You can't continue to keep quiet. You have to get in front of this. You have to face it headlong. Now, a number of demands have been made. Can you take steps to address at least some of them so that there's some sort of comfort that we're even being listened to? What is even more frustrating is when we get the feeling we're not being listened to. And for the people in government, if any of you went to a restaurant, placed an order for a meal, and 1 hour later you hadn't seen the meal and you were being told, oh, be patient, it's on the way, the chef is performing wonders in the kitchen, how many of you would remain in that restaurant? I thought.
All right, thank you, Mr. C. Let us know your thoughts. WhatsApp 0809 440 981, and you can also tweet at smooth981. The next headline comes from The Nation. Agency begins the 6-week training for 5,000 law enforcement officers. AB?
This is very important and good news. Unfortunately, over time, many citizens have had, let's call it, less than savory experience with some law enforcement officials, where you see videos of people being, assaulted, their property being destroyed, and just generally not having the best interaction. So training from the Lagos State Law Enforcement Training Institute is going to focus on people from LASMA, CAI, CBD, Lagos State Neighborhood, all those agencies that you tend to encounter in your daily, moving around and experiencing Lagos. And it's going to last for about 6 weeks at Ikeja Grammar School in Oshodi. I think it's very positive that they are considering the impact of continuous professional improvement and training on these people. Sometimes you put on a uniform and you may forget the sole goal, the purpose for which you were, hired and your organization was established. So they're trying to call them in batches, about 10,000 of them, 5,000 of them in total, starting with 450. I think after that time, they will have been exposed to human rights and law enforcement. I think that's one of the first things, to understand that you are there to protect people. And then, of course, traffic management and control, public order management, conflict resolution. Just because a citizen who is not behaving properly says something or acts in a certain way does not mean you have to come down like a ton of bricks on them, etc. I am just glad to hear that there is such an organization that even exists called the Lagos State Law Enforcement Training Institute. And this is not for the federal people like the police, but for those various bodies that have been set up by the Lagos State government to deal with affairs at the citizen level. I applaud this initiative, and I hope after these number of weeks, people will have much improved experiences in the day-to-day activities around Lagos with the various authorities.
All right, thank you, AB. Let's go on to WhatsApp. We've got some messages coming through. Adigboyega says, if whatever you say or claim to be doing as president isn't being felt or seen by those you govern, it's either you're telling lies or you're not doing anything at all. For those who want to know why the president has not addressed the nation, it's probably because he doesn't have the ideas on what to do. Adopsy says, we all agree he met a bad situation on ground, but all that we have seen has been all that we've seen on display has been wanton spending of public funds to satisfy the greed of leaders at the expense of the general populace in the midst of so many needs of the country. The government has been spending money where they do not need to and telling people to be patient. 0809 440 981. That is the WhatsApp number. You can also tweet at smooth981 or post your comments underneath the live stream. Let's see. Yinka says, fantastic restaurant analogy by Mr. C. However, in this case, the restaurant knows who made the order. But in this case, what are the demands in bracket orders being made? Have you taken time to review the demands? Fuel at 100 naira per liter, minimum wage at 300,000, the release of Nnamdi Kanu. And he ends that with saying, really, with a question mark. Let's move on to the next headline. And this one comes from Vanguard. Neymar hikes airline navigation service charges by 800%. Mr. C?
Okay, thank you, Zibby. So NAMA is the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, and it's responsible for managing Nigeria's airspace, both for commercial and non-commercial flights. Now, they've announced a proposed service increase on all their services effective 1st of September 2024. Now, these services have been increased by 800%. So what do I mean? So there's a minimum charge NAMA has fixed for en route air navigation services. And I presume these are services while the aircraft are in midair. The current price is 2,000 naira. From the 1st of September, it's going to be 18,000 naira. Then we have terminal navigation charges, which used to be 6,000 naira per flight, will now be increased to 54,000 naira per flight. And then extension of service hours goes up from 50,000 to 450,000. Now, NAMA's position is this, that they have personnel costs of about 12 billion naira and capital expenditure of about 11 billion naira. Now, all well and good. This speaks to a problem. NAMA doesn't really have the funds it believes it requires to fully and optimally carry out its functions. Having said that, an 800% increase, how many of the commercial airlines in Nigeria can absorb that cost? We already know what the prices of tickets, domestic ticket prices are in Nigeria today. And we've seen a contraction or shrinking in the passenger volume in the last 12 to 24 months. When you now tack on an 800% increase in the cost of all these services, ultimately, it's the passengers these cost increases will be passed on to. Now, if more people cannot fly by air, what are the options on the ground? In some cities, you can travel interstate via the train system. But in a lot of states, you still have to go by road. And it's not like road journeys are exactly the safest in Nigeria because kidnapping, abduction, and the like have become a booming industry. And our security agencies seem perplexed. Now, I don't know how they arrived at 800. I don't know why it wasn't 300% or even 150%, but 800% seems a bit excessive. Now, the Minister for Aviation, is he even aware of this increase? Did he sign off on it? Because this is an agency under the Ministry of Aviation. So if he didn't sign off on this, what is going on? But really and truly, I'm not sure we can absorb these proposed increases. Should the prices be increased? Certainly. 800%? I don't think so.
All right, thank you, Mr. C. Let's see what messages are. Abby, do you want to say something? You're shaking your head.
I just feel, like you said, what is the basis for this? And in the past, with what they had, how well were they running the services around the airports? We've heard of airports with no ACs, sanitary facilities, overflowing water and all that. I'm not saying that these figures won't be updated, especially with the fact that the Naira rate has, really fallen compared to some of the foreign inputs. But I'd like to have seen much more efficiency. I'd like to see models of excellence that we could point at to say, this is what we intend to do. We have too many airports. We know that out of 33 airports, or so only 3 are actually worth the land that they are built on. So maybe that's part of the overhead with all these excess, personnel costs. I'm just saying that 800 does not seem like it will lead to anything except even fewer people traveling.
All right, let's see what Francis from Ojo says. He says, honestly, I'm in support of the protest, but as it's part of the civil rights of citizens, but I don't, and I'm skeptical if this would yield any actual results, as I feel there are no specific laid out plans or demands. Well, there are a list of demands. Some people believe some of those demands are rather questionable, but there is a list of demands that the protesters have put out. You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Stay with us. More to come. Abby, can you hear Mr. C clearly?
It comes in and out, but it's better. It doesn't take as long anymore to come loud. It starts low, then hopefully in about 1 or 2 seconds it becomes loud. Then somewhere in the middle it goes down. I'm just
I've passed
trying.
the feedback on. I saw some.
I trust you have. That's. I mean, we've been doing what we can.
Yeah.
There's something electronic going on or not going on. So, but I'm coping.
My messages.
I'm coping. Thank you.
All right. I wasn't too sure if you could.
I appreciate that.
You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1, and we're looking at the news stories making the headlines. Mr. C and AB are our analysts this morning. We see your messages coming through. Please keep them coming. 0809 440 981. You can also tweet at Smooth 981. And you can catch the live stream on our YouTube channel, Smooth 981. You can also post a comment on there from a Daily Trust. LG autonomy, fate of over 200 LCDAs hangs in the balance. AB?
Now, according to the Nigerian constitution, there are actually 774 local government areas. In certain states, notably Lagos, extra local government development areas were created back in when the current President Tinubu was the governor. He had a bit of a clash with the then president, and eventually the allocations that were withheld from them were made available to him later on. Other states, including some places like Bauchi, Taraba, and a few other states have also created local government development areas. At the end of the day, with this recent ruling, I think the only recognized places where money is supposed to go to directly would be those 774. So the question is, what happens to those other LCDAs? In certain states, especially in the Southwest, some people are very unhappy with the LCDA authority and they feel it should be scrapped because they haven't done anything. The point or the purpose, I think, was noble, to bring development closer to the people. But how well has this worked? Indeed, how well have the current established local governments worked? This is the chance, the opportunity, the moment when we, the people, can demand what the local government areas are supposed to do. How they were funded before was that the governor would make certain amounts of money available from what was sent to a particular local government where the LCDA had been carved out of. Now that the governors are not supposed to touch that money, it's going to be a different thing. Currently, as it stands, the Constitution of Nigeria has not been changed to create any account where this money can be sent to, as the recent Supreme Court ruling said. So I'm actually asking myself, even for the approved LCDAs, where will this money be sent? Because our constitution says there's a joint account, state and LGA. The constitution has been changed to create an LGA account. So that's a separate conversation. But when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse or neglect is inevitable. The local governments that existed, were they making the people's lives better? As I've said, in Schedule 4 or so, Mr. C, correct me, of the Nigerian Constitution, there you see on merely one A4 sheet of paper at most, what the responsibilities of your local governments are. I insist that the LGA is supposed to determine the look and feel of your life, how your schools operate, how your hospitals and healthcare institutions operate, your streets, your signage, your refuse disposal. Basically, there should be friendly, if you want to call it competition between In America, they have what they call a school district. A school district typically determines where people choose to live, because you find that in a certain county or otherwise defined school district, some people place a lot of emphasis on the quality of their schools. And so people tend to leave other places to come to that place because they say their public schools are excellent and you want your children to have the best. In fact, I didn't know, but people determine a lot of what they do in America based on how well their children will be treated. So an LGA should say to itself, we shall have the best educational facilities for every child in our local government. First of all, let's draw our maps. Where at the extent of my LGA, people should now say, you know what, if I'm living here and working here, I better live in this other one because I have better facilities. The roads are smoother, the grass is trimmed, etc. These LCDAs currently are in anonymous territory because they are not necessarily recognized by government. However, by the Constitution. However, there is a cause for bringing development closer to the people. I think there are conversations to be had. Maybe they have to disappear from the face of the earth, but whatever services they're supposed to give to the people must be provided and maintained. Just because you're no longer an LCDA does not mean the people living in that area should be neglected. So we have constitutional issues, we have legal issues, and we have issues of responsibility. As a local government chairman, what are you doing? Then last of all, the office of the citizen. Read your constitution, extract what your local government is supposed to do for you, and insist on getting it. Start at your ward level. Do you know who your ward leader is? Where is his or her house? Go there. Have Saturday afternoon meetings with the person. Agree with people on your street. That is the way you take back what you can. You cannot go and meet Tinubu. You can even rarely meet your governor. But your ward person, know him or her and make them, put some fire under them for your own good. And hopefully we can make the local government system and autonomy work. I said this before. One local government in which I live, Port Harcourt City Local Government of Port Harcourt, got 709 million naira in either February or March of 2023. I look around me, I do not see where 709 million naira went. It's my time to go and ask, where did this money go and how come I'm not seeing it in front of my house, etc. It's our time. We better make good use of it.
All right, thank you, AB. Let's move on to some messages coming through. Adiremi says, when the president finally addresses the nation, the criteria for dollars in detention will shift again for those who consider the days of rage protest as their way to install their failed candidate. Joseph Menyi says, please, the telcos should not get themselves in a mess that might increase the anger of Nigerians waking up to Sunday morning and companies barring the lines of customers. I'm one of those people. I literally have no phone right now. Okay, let's move on. And this is from JP. JP says, sadly, Lagos seems to be more of playing to the gallery. How are they hired? Ab initio, continued training. Okay, and this is in response to the training for law enforcement. Continued training is a start, but the side of revenue first and selective enforcement will take a while for training to solve. Let's move on to Daily Trust. Zamfara lawmaker, ex-LG chair, district head, nabbed over kidnapping. Let's see.
Okay, thank you, Zibby. So in Zamfara State, it has been wrecked and characterized by the activities of non-state actors in the realms of abduction, criminality, terrorism, and the like. Now, incidentally, the immediate past governor of Zamfara State is now the Minister for Defense. How that happened is a different conversation. Now, the news report says a serving member of the Zamfara State House of Assembly, an ex-local government chairman, and a district head have been nabbed over their suspected involvement in kidnapping. Now, the police say that they're investigating a series of abductions in Zamfara, especially in Kara Namode local government of Zamfara State. And in the course of the investigations, the names of these three individuals, along with three other individuals, came up, and now they've been picked up. Now, my challenge again with the Nigerian security agencies is this. When you carry out an investigation, you do not release the names of the people you're investigating until you're prepared to file charges in court. Because when you then say Mr. Lagbaja is guilty or has been arrested for kidnapping, and then in the course of further investigations, it is now discovered that it is not Mr. Lagbaja. In fact, it is Mrs. Taufik that is responsible. You have unwittingly defamed Mr. Lagbaja, and all the public will remember is you were once arrested in connection with kidnapping. Nobody will remember that he was cleared. Now, this is alongside the fact that the Zamfara state government has instituted a panel of inquiry. Now, the truth of the matter is this. A lot of non-state actors are engaging in kidnapping, abduction, terrorism because of the economic situation. Now, I'm not saying that once the economy gets better, all these activities will stop because some individuals are suited to a life of crime, but it will certainly reduce. Now, if these individuals are investigated to the uttermost and it is discovered that they truly have questions to answer, they should be arraigned in a court. They will then have the opportunity to present any defense they deem necessary to clear their names. But if they are not involved at the end of the investigation, and the security agencies man up and publicly apologize to them for identifying them even when they had not sorted out the investigations. Contrast that with how they carry out investigations outside the country. You just hear a serving member, nobody identifies him. The security agencies do not identify the individual. It is typically the newspapers that will go and identify the individual. And our security agencies must continue to learn current best practices in carrying out investigations. You're carrying out an investigation, you haven't finished. Why are you telling me?
All right, let's see some messages. Jovel says, please, any training is a waste of time as the law enforcement agents will never change, period. We can give them a
We
chance.
can't say
Really?
that. We can't say that.
Yes, we can give them a chance.
Yes, we
There's some
can. We should.
decent
We
officers
must.
who do their job.
Absolutely. I've encountered them.
Mm.
They're in the minority, sadly.
Or maybe we
Well,
just hear more about the bad eggs,
let's
unfortunately.
let's expand that minority.
Okay, let's see. Aisha says, lovely restaurant analogy. Please let's be conscious that we are all in this together. We just have to pray for peaceful demonstration and be concise with the demands, not to keep changing the goalpost. So the government can focus on the specific demands, not more than 3 to 5 points agenda, please, or else it could end up scattered and unfocused like NSAS. Now, I think there are about 11 or 12 things on that list of demands. And opinion is divided. Okay, AB, go ahead.
And what hurts me the most is there's a place on the poster that says we are not salves. When you misspell something as simple as slaves, you've lost me, but go on.
Okay. But with negotiation, sometimes people have to sit down together and decide, okay, this will work, this won't work, we can do this, we can't do this. So perhaps that's why there is such a long list. But fingers crossed. Fingers crossed on that. Ajayi says the only way to prevent the looming protest is for the government to refine these policies of subsidy removal and floating the naira that has caused the biting hunger because of the resultant hyperinflation. Do you mean reverse? Okay, I think Ajayi might mean reverse, right? Okay, Ibukun says, Mr. C, okay, I'm trying to get that, Ibukun. Okay, I don't get the first paragraph, but I'll start with the second. Although the Lagos Training Institute is a welcome development, should it not have been the foundation of the training after recruitment? Yinka Bolu says, the online virtual organizers of the protest have tagged it 10 days of rage and bad governors, revolution now, or whatever grammar, all well and good. But for 10 days, this sort of thinking and reasoning is why we are not understood. Or why we, okay, I am even particularly shocked when a lawyer writes into the IGP notifying him of the 10 days and days thereafter, meaning they can go beyond 10 days, right? This is not a protest, but an agenda, and I dare anyone to prove me otherwise. Deji says, fuel scarcity. All we've been told is there's tightness in supply. This has disrupted lives, yet nobody has taken responsibility. Why can't officials be jailed or sacked? We can no longer be patient with this trend of irresponsibility that cuts across this government. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the other word, but oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. C. Everybody's improving. Good, good, good. That is all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed this morning. Thank you for listening. Thanks for sending your messages through. And special thanks to our analysts as well, Mr. C and AB Bozimo, for joining us.
Thank you. If you decide to protest, be peaceful. We cannot overemphasize that. Peaceful protest is all that's allowed by the law, nothing else. If you don't decide to protest, let those who are protesting be on their own. You be on your own. As they say in Port Harcourt, day your day, make them day then day.
Thank you for having me. And this is a call to security agencies. You have a constitutional and legal duty to protect peaceful protesters. Always remember that.
Keyword peaceful. That is all the time for Freshly Pressed this morning. Thank you for listening, but do stay with us. There's more to come on the Smooth Breakfast. Thanks, Abby. Have a good day.